Today is Saturday, June
14.
14th, and this is not just your ordinary Saturday. For one, it is Donald Trump's birthday. And not only is it Donald Trump's birthday, it is also a celebration of, I forgot how many years, I'm sorry, of the Army. So, of course, there's a parade to celebrate both. And then we also have all the not parades, I apologize, all of the protests going on around the world saying that we do not need a king. We do not want a king. And this is not
There's
what
no
our
king
country
protest.
stands for. Um, and not only do you have those two things happening today, we just recently had Democrats who were assassinated. A couple days ago, we had Israel sending bombs to Iran. So there are so many things going on right now that what we know as freedom and peace and everything is deteriorating right in front of our eyes. And we got to stand for something.
Yep.
We can't get our business, we can't start poking our noses in every other country's business. And of course, I know that wars make money. But like I've
hmm
said before, I cannot go to my neighbor's house and be like, hey, you gonna start beefing with the neighbor across the street because I said so. And I want peace here on this block. They're gonna look at me like I am crazy.
Probably
They're
swing
probably
on
gonna
you.
slam the door.
You
They're
didn't
gonna
know
be
it's
beefing
over
with me. So with that said, what makes us think that we can have that type of audacity to believe that we are going to end wars in other countries? Um, so-called no war, no wartime president. Yeah, it's not working. And
Mm-mm.
when it comes to what is going on Israel, like he is just as bad as Putin. It's just bad as Putin. You guys
Yep.
are literally conducting a genocide of the Palestinians. There's no getting around it. You are. You are. And I think for one, yes, they were our allies. When we had when we were under Biden, and Biden tried to explain, hey, these are our allies, this is what we have to do. When we have allies, we support them. But now Israel has crossed the line where all other countries are against what they're doing, and the only country that's still backing them is us now. And unfortunately, I hate to say it, America has to feel what it feels like for us to have great laws, to understand. Because right now, we dehumanize people unconsciously. And what I mean by dehumanize, think about how we as a whole sometimes look at drug addicts or how we look at mentally ill. We don't treat them to the same accord that we treat people we would say quote unquote normal. So just with
hmm
that aspect, think about in other countries. We're so easy to look on the TV or on our phones and we see the war in Iraq. We see the what's going on with the Palestinians. And we're like, oh my gosh, that's awful. That's bad. That's sad. Oh, but when it starts knocking at our door, that's when it gets real. And with what has just happened there and what's been going on in our country since our new administration is we're isolating ourselves from our allies. We're making enemies with the rest of the world. If we are not careful, we are the mystery Babylon. And newsflash for those who aren't religious or ones who are just getting into it, America's not in the Bible. White folks are not in the Bible either, at least not how you think they are. So we are going to destroy ourselves, if not within, just by a foreign invader because of our chaos, by our leader. So
Yeah.
this is not a time to take things lightly, and it's not a time for us to be divided. And one thing, you mentioned before about the protests is we have been lucky to have peaceful protests, even though you have some people who have not
Yep.
been peaceful. Um, but to have peaceful protests in a way that we're uniting,
Yep.
because I don't think a lot of people didn't pay attention in history. And you would know that one of the easiest ways to conquer somewhere is when we're divided within, because we're too busy fighting each other to not realize the
Yep.
big enemy. So we have to unite. But that's me. That's me rambling. I stop.
Terrence B here, and I just want to say I'm in 100% in agreement with Sweets. It's really unfortunate to see two people of Democratic representatives be assassinated because the gentleman, from what I've been reading, is that the gentleman is a white male and he was dressed as a law enforcement,
Hmm.
knocked up to the door, and so it now you're making it like people see that, and now that puts even a further divide, even more than
Hmm.
it already is, between law enforcement and the community. It's making the gap wider because then we're not even trusting law enforcement. Like,
Yeah.
y'all were sworn in under an oath to protect and serve. And I know he wasn't a real law enforcement person, but for somebody like that to be out doing that,
Hmm.
that's ridiculous. And then
You
going
made
to
me
the
think of something.
protest, going to the protest. The protest has, for the most part, 85, 90% of it has been peaceful. Peaceful protesting, which are great numbers. The only time that element gets provoked is when they come to the protest. When ISIS and whoever else, law enforcement gets involved, start shooting rubber bullets and stuff, you're provoking a reaction. So, to the protesters, it's very important for all of you guys to be strategic in your exit strategies and how y'all move, because their formula never changes. They like to push you into a place that you can't escape, and then that's when they execute.
Hmm.
So it's important for y'all to know how to disperse, get out before they can set up, know where y'all gonna meet at. Everybody knows we're going here. Don't say it out loud. Say it beforehand. Be strategic. This stuff has worked in Korea, China. When they did protests there, they would disperse in so many different directions. Nobody knew where to go, but they all knew where they were meeting.
Hmm.
So they can't stop something that they don't know about. And so it's very important that y'all just keep your head on the swivel and watch for the hook. Now, as far as this parade goes with this guy, I'm not saying his name. This guy, I've said it once, I'll say it again. How this is set up is kind of distasteful to the actual people who have served, because let's be real, he's a draft dodger. And that's documented. This man is a draft dodger. And for you to use the army in this way, to have them glorify you because it's your birthday or whatever, but you want to use that attention for your own glorification, as a smack in the face to people who actually served for this country. Now, I've never served myself, but I've always had the utmost respect for the soldiers that have served on our behalf. Now, for him to do that, I feel is disrespectful to the actual soldiers that serve. And I know some of them feel the same way. They have to. But I say all that to say this: war is coming. And where we're standing right now, not any fault of our own, but on behalf of this guy, him standing with the opposition of everybody else, you've isolated us from everybody else in the world globally, like Sweet said. You're making enemies out of us. We have no fault in this. This is just the choices that he decides to make. And then you're trying to provoke. Literally, World War will happen, even if we're not involved. I'll say that
Mhm.
because the side that we chose, and like you being on the side with Israel against your former and allies looks suspect. Because the whole point of it, having allies, is to be on a unified front. But you not doing that. That looks suspect to me. I'm just saying. But y'all just we just got to keep our minds open. And ladies and gentlemen, don't forget to think it's not illegal yet.
It's never, but I think um we have to say enough is enough. We
Yep.
don't have to agree with everything that our party supports. I've never agreed with some things that the Democrat Party do support, which is it's one of the most hugest things, and it is a very conservative view that I have, and nobody will ever change that, but I still am a Democrat. But with that being said, it's like, how long do you guys want to really sit behind him and back this nonsense up? Now,
That's what's shocking
it's
to me.
okay if it's okay at this point to just admit you guys put this man in the office because it is filled up with misogyny, racism, and sexism. It's okay. You're a sexist. Um, it's okay. If you are a misogynist, it's okay. If you are a racist, it's okay. No, it's not okay, okay. But if those are your reasons, stand by those reasons, but stop making excuses for the foolishness. Stop saying you support
Makes you
the
look dumb.
veterans and you watch veterans be disrespected every day. Stop saying you did this to boost the economy when you see the economy is far worse than what it's ever been. Stop saying that you you know, immigrants this, immigrants that, and don't really understand that those same people or illegal aliens, as you say, they paying taxes. That's the I think that's one thing I don't think a lot of people realize, that undocumented people are not getting assistance without some kind of documentation.
Yeah,
And if they
or a
are
free ride.
working,
Y'all think this is? I'm like, where we where?
if they are working, they are paying taxes.
Mm-hmm.
Now, they don't benefit from Social Security, so that's one thing you don't have to worry about. But for them to get any public assistance, as you would say, they have to have some kind of form of documentation. Now, don't get me wrong. When we say the word, well, the criminals are criminals. Who is the criminal sitting in the White House?
A
And I don't want
felon.
to hear people say, well, what about such and such? I ain't talking about such and such. I'm talking about a person who was convicted. It's like
And I'm gonna say this.
anybody else that was convicted. We're talking about the people. You were convicted.
And I'm just saying this like to everybody that's just sitting there that's saying like, what about this person? Don't redirect. We said what we said. I was like, y'all want to talk about all these people that have done wrongdoing, but yet y'all put a felon in the White House. Y'all want to talk about everybody else's problems, but you're not even acknowledge the problem that you put in place.
Mhm.
We sure as hell didn't do it. So I'm like, please, you put a felon in the office, which is contradictive to like the actual. I was like, hold on, Murph, if you're a felon, don't that knock you out the running to be president? I thought so. I didn't know,
So many
but
things that don't make sense.
strangely, I guess rules is double standards is crazy. Because I'm like, what the hell? Doesn't that automatically take you out? I mean, thought common sense, but silly me, common sense. But what was I thinking? You know what I mean? But like these people, man, and some people have admitted I messed up.
Mhm.
I did the wrong thing. But the question is, what are you gonna do now? What are you gonna do right now? And that division in the parties, Republicans, and Democrats. I've held them both accountable. I was like, look, the original idea of this country was to move this country forward, to move this country forward and continuously forward, not go back, not backtrack, move forward. So even if you don't agree with the party, if you can't even come to the table and be like, hey, look, we don't have all the answers, you don't have all the answers, but we have some good ideas, you have some good ideas. Let's bring them to the table, put them together, and move this country forward. That's the ideal aspect of how we're supposed to be looking at this country. The reality is you have a civil war going on in the Republican Party. They're too busy fighting amongst themselves to even see the hook coming. And then you have Democrats. Well, don't get me wrong. We got some steppers that are really step. Mrs. Crockett, Mr. Green, and so on and so forth.
Don't
But
forget
what's
about
the point of
Newsom now.
having
Don't forget about
what?
Newsom.
And I was like, don't forget, we got people that are really step. But
Gavin
what's
Newsom
the point
is
of
a
having
bully.
people that really step when the party as a whole is always on the fence?
Yeah.
I was like, and on that code, I'm like, y'all got to get on code. You got to get on code. Because if you don't, what's the point of these people really stepping if you're not standing behind them?
Mhm. Well,
So that's what I got to say about that, man.
I think the last thing I want to say is that we we have looked at, did I say this already? um we have the ability to subconsciously sometimes dehumanize people
Mm-hmm.
and or not take it as serious because it's not in our face. So when I say dehumanize, like how we view drug addicts, how we view I should say just addictions, mental illnesses, we don't treat them as what we would so called treat human, normal people or just your day-to-day person. And just like when we turn on the TV or we open our phone and we see what's going on in Ukraine or what's happening with the Palestinians, and we're like, oh, that's sad or whatever, or we don't have remorse because there's some people who don't have remorse. And I think for a lot of people, unfortunately, it has to be knocking at your front door.
Mm-hmm.
And if we keep going the way that we're going, too busy fighting within, it's going to be at our door. And it does not matter how many guns you have saved up, how much you hate this person or that person, it ain't going to matter. Because if it becomes a situation where you're American, you got to go, that's all that they're going to be looking at. I said this about how a lot of people are quick to say we're living in the Handmaid's Tales. No, this is V for Vendetta.
Facts. Facts. Big
And
fact.
it is in a way, and it's crazy. And this is something to make a topic for a different day. When we think about all of the movies you used to watch as kids growing up, and we would be like, this is crazy. Oh my gosh. Can you imagine? And it's so called
One thing
futuristic
I
or
love
it's
about the movie.
crazy. And you're like, dang, that was a crazy movie. Or I give you one even better. Being a kid in world history and listening to what past dictators did, the genocides that were caused, the wars that were fought, the regimes, the way that nations, empires crumbled. We used to read about it, but we are living, especially as millennials, we are living in this era that if there are history books or how history is taught years from now, we truly have lived it and we're a part of it.
Hmm.
Like, if there's ever a part in history we're talking about this great nation that was
Yep.
and how it just crumbled, that nation may be America. And it's just so much going on. It's just the one thing I can say is I said this a long time ago, and I remember Jay put it on a song, and it was about freedom. And it was like, I don't know how long I'm going to be able to have freedom, so I have to enjoy every day as if it was my last. And how things are going, we all, does not matter your skin color, your gender, whatever you want to call it, things are changing and not in a good way. And
I want to.
unfortunately, hmm,
I want to say one thing. Your V for Vendetta concept, it really makes a lot of sense. There was a quote in that movie that I remember, and I want people to take heed. The the people should never be afraid of their government, but the government should be afraid of their people. And that's very true. And I think y'all should take heed. If y'all have ever seen V for Vendetta, you know what I'm talking about and you understand. But at some point, I also say if you don't stand for something, you will fall for anything. And a lot of people have fallen for a false narrative and still falling even after you see that it's BS. And that's
yeah,
the part I don't comprehend. You're willingly being dumb.
yeah,
For what? What's the reason? It's no benefit to yourself or anybody as a whole. So you really got to start asking yourself, why am I supporting this? Besides representation, why are you supporting this? What did you actually get? And we're not talking to the people that make 200,000 a year. We're not talking to the people that are millionaires and billionaires. We're not talking to those people. We're talking to those people that make 40,000 and below. What exactly did you get?
by
I made it
stabbing yourself
specific.
in the back.
What exactly did you get besides representation? What did you get? I guarantee you nobody can tell you.
So there is a line.
Because $100,000, we know what y'all here for.
Yeah.
The tax break.
No,
We know
130.
what y'all here for. Yeah,
130.
130.
Uh,
130. We know what y'all
but
we know
wait,
what
wait,
y'all
wait.
had.
So J. Cole has a line in this song with Miguel. God, what's the name of that song? Can't think of the song right now. I was just listening to it today. And he said, Trump start talking
Up
reckless.
all night.
No. Um, Trump starts talking reckless. I mean, manipulate and poor white folks to think that they better than everyone else when it's just ignorance. If there are so many different quotes about if you can convince poor whites that they are better than everyone else, you can it's Ronald Reagan. You can rob their pockets over and over and over. I wish I could say it verbatim, but it's so crazy because it's so
Paraphrase.
real. It's so real because all it is making. We'll go end on a note, but
Yeah.
yeah. So enjoy freedom while you have it, darling.